Hello, everybody. Welcome into the 38th at this point. I think it's 38th episode of the From the Verified podcast. My name is Cam Alston. I will be your host as always. It's not going to be a particularly lively show tonight, I don't think. Monday night, people are busy. Haven't advertised this one too much, partially because I just want to kind of get through what I thought was a pretty drab game in sort of very Nathan Jones circumstances. Somehow we ended up having a game with 4 goals that didn't actually lead to anything. But yeah, I just thought I'd explain that before I did my sort of smart little intro, instead of doing a smart little intro. But yeah, there should be a quieter show tonight. Keep it pretty short. Hello there. I did not make that intro up because I completely forgot to play the intro music. Can you tell I've just been on a 4-hour train down from Preston to London Euston this afternoon on a nice of anti-carries. It was about 27 degrees or something silly, as it usually is. I hope everyone's doing well. We'll chat about Blackburn. Weirdly, I don't think we learned very much from that game. It's the same sort of a couple of extra positives, I guess, but the same sort of positives, the same sort of mistakes, same sort of squad issues. So it's not as if I'm going to sit here and psychoanalyze in depth everything that happened in that game. I just don't think we learned a heck of a lot. We followed that up obviously with a really good occasion for the club, which is obviously the FA Cup game at home to Chelsea. I'll be there. I always am. But if I'm being totally honest with everybody, I couldn't care less about the FA Cup this year. Most years, it brings you something, but you're often trying to get a big draw. We're not going to win the FA Cup, right? So you normally just go get a big draw, but normally have to get through a couple of rounds, or maybe I'm just scarred from League One years where you'd go out to some little team like Gillingham, but in round 2 or whatever. But now, obviously, we've got the big draw, the first draw. The club made lots of money. We don't have the deepest squad. In fact, I'd argue we have one of the least deep squads. Least deep? I don't know if that's the right phrase, but the least deep squad in the Championship, and we've got players that are of injuries at the moment, especially in the back line again. So I'm far more focused on those 2 home games after the Chelsea game in the league against Sheffield United and Derby. But there won't be a post-match after Chelsea either. I'm in Manchester. I've been sort of teasing this thing, but yeah, I'm finally getting around to doing it. I can share hopefully it all with you guys next week or the week after. But I just won't be here. I'm actually going to go up to I'm up in Manchester on Sunday. We're going to go to Old Trafford. So, and then I'm going to do this thing on Monday morning. So yeah, there probably won't be a post game for Chelsea. It's not going to be a separate pre-game for Chelsea either. As I said, it's the FA Cup. My expectation is they'll play the mostly rotated side. We'll play a team with, hope it's not a first choice side. I'd really be questioning the manager if he starts playing a first choice side here. And I think probably they will sweep us aside relatively comfortably. If I'm being totally honest with everybody, obviously I will be there supporting and cheering and hoping, like everybody does. But after yesterday, I'm still not 100% sure, despite sitting on that train, whether I've regained feeling in all of my extremities after standing in Edwood Park's away end. But yeah, I'm just not massively in a great mood following that. I also don't think it's anywhere near as dire as people are making out. So let's kind of go through what happened in the game. First goal, very nice. Actually, let's start when we walked in. And I'm sure Blackburn fans. I chatted to Mark from the Tyler's Den before, and he was sort of saying at the time everything that's wrong with the Venkies and everything else. And I don't mean this to be harsh or anything. I think Blackburn are, obviously Premier League winners, that famous side with Alan Shearer in it. But that's a club that feels like it's sort of dying at the moment. They've got protests planned and everything else, but that was 3/4 empty yesterday. I've honestly heard better atmospheres in the first half of that game. I've heard better atmospheres at Dartford in pre-season. There was no atmosphere, there was no singing, there was nothing, because of the EFL scheduling. And I very rarely moan about the scheduling, but the Christmas holiday period for us has been an absolute joke in terms of scheduling. So, sending it up to Blackburn in the first weekend of January, what did they think was going to happen? It was going to be bright sunshine and 30-degree weather. Absolutely crazy decisions to do that. Why are we playing a Pompey game on the 29th? What's the point? Right, extend the season out by a week. I really don't understand who makes those decisions. Put a random Tuesday night in, right? Give players an opportunity to get some rest. There's loads of weeks coming up in the second half of the season where we don't play on a Tuesday night, right? Why are we going to Middlesbrough on a Wednesday? Why are we going to West Brom on a Wednesday, right? West Brom maybe less so you can actually get back from that. There's just decisions that have been made. It's clearly been done by a computer, but it's just basic stuff. I was chatting to my mates in the pub afterwards, and they were saying the same thing. It's just scheduling is just absolutely mad in football. And I don't know why we do it. The Spanish don't do it. The Italians don't do it, right? The French don't do it. Germans don't do it. It's just crazy. Anyway, so if you were one of the people that was able to make your way up there, because it was so difficult, there's only a couple of hundred of us in there. The home fans weren't singing. It's the loudest I've ever heard like pre-game music come through, because there wasn't really enough of us, and we were kind of spread out in this massive thing, right? That away end with the top bit must hold 5,000 or 6,000 people in it, right? And there must have been 300 of us in there. So you're hearing the music blasting. There's no atmosphere. There's not really much sort of clapping. They're frustrated with their ownership of basically bleeding the club dry and all the rest of it. But it's just like it's a miserable atmosphere. I'm sure they'd agree with that, to be honest with you. I'm not trying to bash Blackburn. I have a huge amount of respect for the football club. I like Edwood Park, actually. But it's one of those things where it's like, you're there, there's no atmosphere. It must have been so weird for the players. You're used to playing in these sort of big championship stadiums with lots of people in them, right? Sort of loud noise, flares going off, in terms of on the side of the pitch, flares, pyros going off on the side of the pitch if you're going to Birmingham or whatever it is, right? You're kind of used to that. And you get to this ground and no one's travelled because it's impossible to get up there unless you want to take the day off work like I was, right? Or drive. It's cold, and I mean like frigidly cold. The pitch is absolutely dreadful, absolutely awful. Fair play to Batman for even getting the game on, considering the weather. But just all these things that kind of add up, and despite all of that, I thought we were really good for 35 minutes. And by very good, I don't mean it as in it was one of our best performances. I think we were very good comparative to what we've been over the last couple of months. We looked relatively defensively secure, keeping that much to do. That he did have to do was simple catches and simple claims. No problem at all. They really didn't threaten very much. Cantwell with a couple of nice turns, which was a preview of what would happen later. But I thought this was okay. And then we went down. Bree with a lovely cross, which hasn't happened for about 6 weeks. Miles smacks a header against the bar. Charlie Callum stood there waiting, taps it in. Fantastic, 1-0. They're getting a bit toxic. It's, terrible atmosphere. Great. And not only that, we followed that up by getting right on the front foot again. Got to give it a penalty. There's never a penalty. That's not a penalty, right? It's either blatant cheating on one of the best dives you're ever going to see. Lloyd Jones there. Gets a penalty because I don't know why he was given it. Charlie Callum steps up again, smacks that in. That's 5. Was it 5? 4 goals now? 5 goals on the season. All of a sudden, the goal return's starting to look a little bit healthier. As long as he does that, he's a poacher anyway. I'm not that bothered whether he's in games all the time or not. I thought he was making some nice off the ball runs. I thought we were playing well. And then, what has happened to all of the, since the injury crisis, really, Firstly, Reece Burke goes down after a contact injury. I didn't mind him playing in the way that I think a lot of people did. For me, I went, you're going to get 2 clear weeks off if you get through this game. It is a must-not-lose game at a minimum. Right? If we win it, we go 7 points with a game in hand of the team that are in the relegation zone. Right? You can make it seem as far as 10 points clear. Right? Before Norwich can even try to catch you. And you have them at home in the second half of the season. You're thinking, I can see why he's done it. But he's made of absolute glass, Reece Burke. And he goes into a tackle. And again, it's not even the hamstring injuries or whatever that we were told Luton fans said he would get all the time. Right? He feels something in the back of his knee. He has to come off. He feels something in the back of your knee. Hopefully it's nothing too serious and, it's precautionary and all the rest of it. We bring Gillespie on, who was, I don't like cheering players out on this podcast. I don't think it's very helpful to anybody, but he was absolutely dreadful defensively yesterday. Just came up at the wrong time. It's hard for centre-backs to come on. Didn't look comfortable, didn't look secure at all. I've just realised, actually, I've got this wrong. The goal came before Gillespie came on. I'm not blaming Gillespie for the goal, by the way. But yeah, so before Burke gets injured, they go down, I think. And honestly, it is childish defending, right? This isn't coaching. Right? This is childish. Tyrese Campbell loses the ball like he did against QPR, right? I'm not someone who comes in here and bashes Tyrese Campbell every week, but that's the same mistake. You've now made that 5 or 6 times in games. To me, I don't understand why specifically he doesn't get that foul, right? Normally for the defender with the ball, they'd give you that foul. I think it may be because he's a winger and refs still see him as a winger. But, gets pushed in the back, should stay on his feet, put the ball out for a throw-in, whatever it is, decides to fall over, try to, get a foul, doesn't get the foul. Goes down. Joe Rankin Costello slides for no apparent reason. Amari Bell decides to not engage. The cross is absolutely wonderful, to be fair to the lad. Absolutely, I think it's Miller, isn't it, that puts it in. It's absolutely lovely. Lloyd Jones has stood in absolutely no man's land in the box. I think he might be there waiting to cut a ball cross out on the ground, to be fair, but there's no one at the top of the box. Reece Burke gets beaten in the air because it's such a great ball across. A fantastic leap from the lad. Puts James Bree on his backside as he goes up there, basically, and sticks it in the bottom corner. And from that moment, I knew we were going to drop points yesterday. Right? And it's so frustrating because there's 4 or 5 different moments in that move where you could stop that from happening, and you don't, right? But I thought, even though I was a bit concerned, I thought, yeah, we've got a best choice back 3 out there. Well, we should be okay. And then that Burke injury happens, and we've discussed that, right? And so we go into halftime. We think, okay, we're still winning. We're still doing okay, right? We come out and Blackburn make 2 changes, and the first thing that my mate next to me went, that's a big lad they brought on. I think it's 16. Is it O'Riordan? And what was happening all first half was Miles Leaburn was winning headers endlessly, much like he was against Oxford. Callum was running onto them, space was being created, or Tyrese Campbell would get the ball and go. And the Blackburn defence just wasn't tall enough to deal with it more than anything else. They couldn't cope. And so Ishmael came in at half time. And I think if we'd gone in 2-0 up, actually, Nathan Jones, right, we're going 2-0 up, and I think we win that game quite comfortably. We give the goal away just before half time. He makes this change and brings on 2 really tall lads. But we don't change at all. And we keep knocking it to Lee. Ben Leeming actually keeps winning quite a few of them. But it's not as effective. And when it doesn't stick, that allows Blackburn to kind of push up. They've won the ball sort of, 3/4 of the way through their half, right? Which our press at the moment isn't doing particularly well, right? They've won it in the... They've won it 3/4 of the way up at half, right? And they kept kind of coming forward. There's one save Kaminsky makes. I don't think it's the most difficult save in the world, but it makes the save. There's one where there's one I think that goes over the bar. They get a corner. They're building the pressure, and we go down the other end. And again, I should have written it down, but I can't remember if it's before or after the save, to be fair. But James Bree puts a wonderful ball into the box again. Tyrese Campbell's waiting on a tap in. It's a fantastic tackle. I think it's from one of the lads they brought on. Right, stops Tyrese Campbell in a half a yard tap in. We're going, okay. A third goal really would have killed it. And then we get another chance, which is Gillespie, who again defensively was dreadful, and we'll come to it. Puts a wonderful ball into Miles Leaburn. He's deserved a goal all game. He's opened up his body. It's a fantastic tackle. Right, it's one of the best tackles you'll see all weekend. And you're going, playing a team with no confidence here, and they're pulling up tackles like that. It's like when it rains, it pours, right? And so you sort of sat there going, and then they started to push up again, and we couldn't win the ball back and everything else. And so we make a I think we're going to make a couple. We're going to make a couple of changes in midfield. We change off JRC. We get the time is ticking down very slowly. It's 65, 66 minutes into the game, and you're going, okay, we're getting there now. This is still taking forever, but we're getting there. Right, we're almost at 90. And then Mosley Burn pulls up the cramp, and he looked as if he was in some serious pain. If anyone's ever woken up in the cramp, like you know it hurts, right? So he's on the side, and for one, I'm not sure what the reason is why they didn't let us make a change. But Nathan Jones says quite clearly they didn't let us make a change at that point. So we're down to 10 men, right? And this is another one of those. So the same with the first goal. The first goal, you had 4 or 5 chances to stop that from happening if someone does the right thing, right? Much like Portsmouth in the last minute, if someone does the right thing, that goal doesn't go in, right? Minus actually for their first goal, Kaminsky can do nothing about it, so he's not involved in that. Troy Callum gets the ball down by the corner flag. Your strike partner is off the pitch. I think that if I'm being charitable, what he was trying to do was win a corner. But you're down to 10 men. Why swing that into the box? Right? You're on one side of the wing. Your midfielder is behind you. At the moment that keeper gets it, it's going to be a counter-attack. Right? And not only a counter-attack down our left side, which is incredibly weak because we've got a winger playing out there. Right? He swings it into the box. Just kick it out. Kick it out. Let us make the sub. Right? Hold on to it. Let them kick it out. Let's make the sub. Why cross it? And it's those little moments, and I'm not trying to dig out Charlie Kelman here because it's something that keeps happening, right? And it's a squad-wide issue. It's not a Charlie Kelman issue, right? These little stupid, and they are stupid in many ways, right? If you asked him tomorrow, I bet you Charlie Kelman said that was stupid, right? He probably got a bit too worked up being in the corner and panicked a little bit and went, I'm just going to swing it, right? Almost forgetting his friend's not, his teammate's not playing anymore. And then it goes down on a breakaway. Tyrese Campbell doesn't cover his man because he's sort of out of position. Gillespie gets in the way of something, right? Falls over, right? They get the ball back, slides it across. He's 3 yards out from the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper gets 2 hands on it, 2 fingertips on it, can't flick it over the bar. Right? It's in the goal. It's 2-2. And at that point, we were holding on video live for the rest of that game, right? And if something sums us up at the moment, it's the run that Tantuelo Afe makes at the end of that game. He comes on, right, for Miles, and I thought, that's a good sub, right? He runs from our box to the edge of their box, right? And then he runs into 2 defenders for no reason whatsoever, right? You can argue there's no support there, but hold the ball up. Wait. You're not going to beat 2 championship defenders by trying to run through the middle of them. And it just sums up that lack of final quality. And it's so frustrating because we did score 2 goals, right? And we shouldn't have because the penalty shouldn't have been given. And probably we should have scored more because we created opportunities. And we're in a ground that's feeling slightly toxic. We can't grind, Sam's saying here, it's so annoying Nathan Jones feels we can hold on in the second half, which we can't do. We've lost that ability. We can't grind games out the way that we used to grind games out. Partially because we don't have a left back and everyone knows that. So you can't sit and put 11 men behind the ball when you've got a left back at, left back's a left winger because he doesn't know how to defend. Right? And, if I hear that stupid sort of hashtag free Rob Apter crap again, I think I might blow a gasket, right? Like, that's not going to make it any better. Right? So we're in a thing where it's like, even when we're doing the right thing for periods of games, we're set up by Nathan Jones explicitly to win moments. And we keep making these really basic decisions, right? Basic, stupid decisions that allow other teams to put lots of pressure on us, right? And it's not one player. It's not, as I say, it's not Kelman swinging the ball in necessarily that, right? But you can't swing that ball in there when you're 2-1 up, right? You just can't do it. And so I sit here and I go, there are some positives. I thought JRC again was pretty good next to Coventry in there. I thought, Callum getting 2 goals is really good. I thought Miles was good. I thought going forward, there were a couple of moments where TC tried to attack his man, which he hasn't been doing. I think we started quite strong in that sense. I thought the keeper came out for a few more things than he has been doing. But goodness gracious me, you can have all the great performances in the world, but if you can't not make basic errors, then the only place we're going back to is the Pirelli Stadium in Burton next year, right? We're going back to Leighton Orient. We're going back to, I don't know, right? Game management, football intelligence, basic things, right? And I get it. I've made the excuses right at the start. I made the excuses of we don't have a left back. But someone somewhere has to look at that and go, who on earth made that decision that we're going to be fine having one fit left back at the football club, right? For 6 months, 5 months, whatever it is. Who on earth made that decision and why did they make that decision? Who made the decision that our backup centre back should be someone made of so much glass that it would offend a chandelier, right? Like, come on. Recruitment. And I get it. Recruitment is hard when you're the team that comes up in the playoffs. And it's the same for all of them, no matter how much money you want to spend, because all the players that team could go straight back down, right? And you probably do have to slightly overpay certain players, and you have to watch your wage budget, and you have to be careful in case you are the team that goes straight back down, right? And you're going to have to pay, good money to keep the players that you already have, and all these things are tricky, and I understand that. But what I don't understand is that you could loan a left back so you have some backup. If the Premier League club recalls them in January, who cares? We don't like loans anyway. Right? The only club that probably won't loan as a player is Tottenham after the now John nonsense. Right? So I'm frustrated. I'm irritated by it. I think Nathan Jones was irritated. But it's one of those things where and the last thing I'm just going to bring up about that game before I move on, 2 things. Firstly, their penalty shout's never a penalty. That's never a penalty. You could argue that maybe we got the rub of the green. We definitely got the rub of the green with ours, and they didn't get it with theirs. But that's never a handball. But I tell you, the really big issue we have at the moment. Once you buy a left back, and they will buy a left back, that I'm not too worried about. Is we cannot make substitutions in midfield at the moment. I don't know what Greg Docherty is doing half the time out there. Because being a captain, he is not. Right? When we concede, head goes straight down. Arms go straight in air. Right? No putting your arms around the players around you. No, running around like a headless chicken. Right? Diving into things you shouldn't be diving into. Creating overloads against us. Dreadful passes. Right? First touch that's wooden, like lead. I don't know what's happened to him. He went through the same sort of thing last year at this time of the year. I don't know what it is, but he does not look like he can run a championship midfield. And the moment that we make that sub now, the quality dips. And if I'm going to have my quality dip that way, I'd much rather have it with someone that I know can do the defensive bit and not be pushed off the ball because he's 5'5". And maybe that's harsh, but I would rather bring Corey Anderson on in any game now than I would bring this version of Docherty on because it's not working. Can we stop playing Sonny Carey as a number 8? He can't tackle. And when he does tackle and he wins the ball back, he won't pass. He's just stopped passing the ball. I get it, he shot first. I understand that. I do understand that. He scored some bangers, and I'm not trying to. But this is now 4 or 5 weeks now where he has been either off the ball, out of games, or making the wrong decision. He plays Harvey Nibson against Coventry. He plays that ball 1 minute, 2 minutes. What it felt like. It was probably only 5 seconds. But you play that, and the angle's there. He waits until the angle's gone. Right? These are the decisions we're making. Harvey Nibs can't get into games. But even when he's scoring, he's not being played. We're playing Luke Berry, who I understand why he plays him. As I always say, he's Nathan Jones' comfort blanket. Nathan Jones will play the 4Bs in games that are important. He always will. But there comes a point when Luke Berry is in his mid-30s. He's small anyway. He can't do it physically at this level for extended periods, let alone 3 games in 10 days. And that's the reason we are where we are. We're not in a catastrophic position where we're down where Oxford are, right? Sheffield Wednesday obviously their own separate thing. We're not where Oxford are because we're making these catastrophic decisions, but we're in a place where we are one of the least informed teams in the league. And the hope now is that Norwich's manager bounce has ended over the last couple of games, right? And you look at it, right? And the other thing you can say is if we beat Portsmouth at home and West Brom lose at Leicester today, and West Brom can't pick up a point away from home, or the Leicester are also a mess. But Leicester are only a couple of points ahead of West Brom. They've got a points deduction. So whatever happens tonight, you win that game in hand, all of a sudden you've got the opportunity to drag those two sides into it. Birmingham aren't a million miles away. I know they beat Coventry and all the rest of it. But you're looking around at some of these clubs and going, how on earth am I going to get above them? Southampton are not going to end up there, although they are on a slide. But they beat us 5-1 because we ran into them at the crest of a manager bounce. And you can argue, right, we got lucky we ran into Oxford at the end of a manager's reign. But, it's going to be it's stressful at the moment. I don't think we're helping anyone if we're going onto forums and going, Jones out, right? And sort of writing these long-winded diatribes. If you know the forums, you probably know what I'm talking about, right? Who is that helping? Right? Hashtag free whoever. Who is that helping? Right? Meltdowns on social media. Who is that helping? Right? Like, I get it. We all have opinions. We're all allowed to make those, we're all allowed to express those opinions. I express my own strong opinions at times. But we just, this sticking together and this idea that people, we all had to start the season, I'm bang on about expectation management, right? That we all said 21st is good enough, right? Jones out, Jones out, Jones out. This player's crap, this player's crap, this player's. We're not in 21st. Like, what do people think finishing 21st was going, trying to not finish in the bottom 3 was going to look like? Because it wasn't going to be a playoff charge. And I get it, right? Watching Millwall, watching Palace where they are, right? It's immensely frustrating. And it is stressful, the idea of pretending to go to Bromley if we get relegated, right? And how embarrassing that would be. Not because of anything. Bromley have done a fantastic job, right? Huge amount of respect to them. But I know a lot of the guys probably watching this and a lot of the guys that listen and people that I go to foot with, they go to games with Bromley because it's seen as sort of like, go with your mates and all the rest of it. But it's sort of like the other club that you support. It's about Welling or Dartford in that sort of sense. Yes, Bromley are a bigger club than maybe Welling or Dartford. But you get my point, right? I'm not trying to bash Bromley. But I understand why people are stressed and people are frustrated and people are... But we're not helping ourselves by getting into these sort of... there are people that just... Every player, there's a criticism. It's like, I know. It's just so... I just don't think it's... I don't think it helps anyone. I just don't think it helps anyone. Right, let's chat Chelsea. I can saw your comments in here. Charlie's saying I was disappointed, but it's a point close to safety positive state. Yeah, that is that, right? We did gain actually on Norwich because they lost to Stoke. And that we have a game in hand on them. So that's... Oh, no, we're playing the same number of games as them now, aren't we, Norwich? I can't remember the exact thing, but it's not, not the end of the world. The late great Jack Walker would be spinning in his grave. Yeah, he would be. I mean, I'm not sure what Alan Shearer thinks looking at that team. I know he's a Newcastle man, but looking at that, what's going on at Blackburn, must be thoroughly depressing. I really hope Burke is okay and it's not too long out. You hope he's just felt something and it's precautionary. That's what you're hoping for. But it didn't sound like that. It sounded like they were going to send him for a scan just to have a look. Sadly, we seem to have a Chuck-style body management routine with Reece. I actually think Reece is worth for this stuff than Chuck's was. At least Chuck's you can play for 15 minutes. You can't play a centre-back for 15 minutes like that. It was just a game changer. Game management and football intelligence are so vital. Yet again, it's all about doing the basics right or not. That time to run down a blind alley is a great example. It's just, I'm not trying to dig out Tanto. I just thought it was such a good summation. I think Tyrese Campbell ran into a couple of alleys. He just got, James Bree with some dreadful balls. It's just not a Tanto thing. I don't want to come across as I'm just criticizing one player. It's just, it was such an example, right, of the things that we're not doing at the moment, or we're not getting the rub of the green. The ball setting the goalkeeper's fingers are not quite going high enough. or we're playing Gillespie playing the same ball 3 different times to the same player, right? It's the same pass, change the angle, right? Campbell come back and change the angle for him, right? Or just play Coventry and he's next to you anyway. Stop trying to play the Hollywood ball all the time, right? These the thing, the inability to get the ball down and play, which means that we're constantly under pressure. Right? We have to solve this midfield depth issue once we've solved the fullback issue. So look, there's a lot that's stressful and irritating and frustrating more than anything else. But the answer isn't the change in the manager. The answer isn't necessarily changing the formation because you still don't have a left back, even if you get one, right? Who do you think Jones is going to buy? I think he's going to buy you a flat left back. It'd be a left wing back, right? When we've changed the midfield into a diamond, it's been a mess. When we changed the midfield, made it wider, it's been a mess, right? We don't score enough goals. We scored 2. It makes it even more frustrating. We finally scored 2 goals and couldn't win the darn game. Right? We are so reliant. How many wins do we have? Is it 8? We have 8 wins, I think. And 7. We've had 7 clean sheets, right? And I know one of those was Bristol City and was a draw. So what? We've won 2 games where we've conceded. It's not good enough. Right? Not good enough going forward. It's not good enough at the back at the moment. And it's definitely not good enough in midfield when we make changes. And I don't know how much of that you can fix in a single window. You can fix parts of it. You can fix the fullback problem, right? Because Doherty struggling in midfield is not the reason why we're conceding goals down the left-hand side, right? You can add back Tyrese Campbell as a forward, which allows you to have that first line of defence to sort of protect your midfield and centre-back. So, it's frustrating. It's frustrating more than anything else. Although we did find it funny with Man U and Celtic sacking the gaps we celebrated Nathan 100 games. Yeah, there's very little pressure on Nathan at the moment. You've got to ride it out, right? You've got to trust that he knows what he's doing, and we'll see if he does, right? But it's a tough one. I thought he was as irritated as the rest of us were, but actually it was pretty measured in that post match, and I think he was pretty accurate. Actually, I think if you listen to that is kind of how the game felt. Chelsea FA Cup. I won't lie to you all. As I said at the very beginning, I don't care about the FA Cup. I've got the big draw. The club's going to get the money in the coffers, which hopefully will go towards the January window. It doesn't matter to me. Right? If we go through it, it'd be great, sure. But I don't know if that squad can cope with another game. Right? We are so threadbare at the back at the moment that worse than that happens here is that we play Chelsea and another defender gets injured. Right? If I'm Nathan, you've got to balance not getting embarrassed with making sure that enough players are rested. You do have a week in between, so it's not like there's a midweek game or anything like that. But you've taken a risk about having the extra time to rest, and it's blown up in your face with Burke. So, you probably don't want to be risking players you don't need to risk. Do you need to risk Coventry in this game? I don't think so. Play Dock as a 6. You can play Anderson in front of him and then play one of Nibs or Carey as the cam, right? Change that up. Don't risk him. Can you not risk, if you're going to play James Bree basically every week, then rest play Rob Apter and take him out. I don't know what you do on the left side. That's a mess. Change the goalkeeper because I think that you should always change the goalkeeper in cup games. Man U, I think probably deserves a game. And do the best you can to not get embarrassed. Quite frankly, it's tough because I want to believe in the magic of the cup, and the Carney shirt behind me is from we tried to forget about what the game was, but from an FA Cup game, and I think the FA Cup's it has lost a lot of its sparkle. The loss of the replays, I think, is a massive loss. I think there's a complete capitulation to the Champions League sides and the rest of it. But progressing doesn't really matter to me personally. I'm sure to some of you guys it does, and that's absolutely fair. And I'm, as I say, I'll be in the crowd. I'll be shouting and doing all the rest of it. But and this is a prestigious, Paul's saying how times have changed. Once upon a time, pre-Premier League, the FA Cup's a prestigious trophy, not too far behind the first division title. It still is prestigious. I think that's really important, right? I think Palace winning it last year probably took that down. I'm just kidding. But I just, I just don't see the. Yeah, was that Brazilian Sam? I opened Twitter chat. So feels the seniors will step up the own performance of this game on Saturday. I don't know how many of them I'd actually play. Right, if I'm honest with you, I don't want Leeburn playing, for example. If we lose Leeburn at the moment, we're stuffed. I know people don't whatever, but if we lose that outball, God help us, right? We saw the Tanto Kelman connection at Norwich, and it was non-existent, right? That's not either of their faults necessarily. They're just there's not a duo that matches particularly well, I would suggest. Um, again, he probably will play. Coventry don't really get injured, touch wood. So he probably will do it. But the reason I'm not going to do a pre-game or a post-match for the Chelsea is I don't. It's not the thing that I find the most important. I'm more worried about the league. I'm the most important thing is championship safety, and then the important thing after that is to make the changes we need to make in the summer to make it so we don't have to be back here next season. Look, do I know what Chelsea are going to play? I don't know. I don't know who they're going to play, but whoever they're going to play, one of those players will be worth about 4 times what our entire squad is. So, it is David versus Goliath. Unfortunately, it didn't always used to be that way, but it isn't in modern football. It is nowadays. I'm sure the owners will be over. I'm sure it'll be a big occasion. I'm sure the club will do a lot, and they should. They absolutely should. And we should all enjoy it. It's going to be a really, it's a big occasion. But for me, in terms of the result and whether we go through or not, I think it may be a benefit to go out of the cup. I don't want games being moved from Saturday to Tuesday. I don't think that massively helps us, especially if it starts doing things like stacking away games again. We've done these stacked away games back to back to back, and that's now stopping, except for I think it happens once more second half of the season. But other than that, they're all, when they're back to backs, they're homes back to back. And I think the one where it happens away is right towards the end of the season. We end the season mostly at home. Right, we've got 4 extra home games compared to anybody. I think everybody else has played 4 more home games than we have. So I maybe not everybody else, but a lot of clubs have. So I do think that they, and the home form will keep us up. It's not the away form, right? A point at Edwood Park probably by the end of the season won't feel like such a bad thing. But going away the last couple of times has felt a gut punch. Clap across the face. And if we can't put that Blackburn side to the sword the way that they were, especially in that first half, I'm going to put that first half, sorry. I'm not massively sure what that says for us. I don't mean this to be a Debbie Downer podcast. I know there's, it's a difficult one. But look, it's a point on the board, as Charlie said. It's a step closer. We're a step closer to the ultimate goal, which is to stay up. What do we need now? 21. So we need 7 wins. Can we get that? With 14 home games, whatever it's going to be. I think it's doable. But we've got to be a heck of a lot more clinical than we were against Coventry. We need to be a heck of a lot more clinical. Maybe not even clinical. We need to be a heck of a lot better defensively than we were yesterday. Right, I'm going to call it here. It's a Monday night. I've got work tomorrow. I'm sure you all do too. Thanks for joining me on a Monday. Thanks to all those that are listening. Again, like, subscribe. I've got a banner. Subscribe so you don't miss any more episodes. Look at me doing a bit of self-promotion. And I'll see you all next week. Probably Wednesday or something for a Sheffield United preview. I'll be around, obviously, on social and all the rest of it. But hopefully I'll be able to bring some good news as well. Enjoy the Chelsea game. Don't be like me and not care about it. Enjoy the Chelsea game. Enjoy the spectacle. Enjoy what hopefully will be a bit of a show. Hopefully not a complete embarrassment. And then hopefully that break will help us kind of get out of the slog that has been the Championship season. Maybe a bit of a break from it is actually something that we need. But anyway, enjoy that. I'll see you on the Chronicles on Wednesday, doing the preview for the Chelsea game, I think. And there'll be a slight review of the Blackburn game, I'm sure. But yeah, if you were out last night, stay warm. It's still cold out there. And I'll see you all next week. Bye, everyone.